Then finally, there's a third response. And the third response is usually based on and the third response is a very, very important response. The majority of the population does not do that, but there is a significant minority within the population that does this because they influence how everybody else responds. And that's the community that's living in the disadvantaged position. And they don't want to assimilate, they don't want to accommodate. What they do is they resist. Because one of the things about acute disillusionment in the disadvantaged position is that it robs life of its meaning. And when acute disillusionment does that, then you have to find something from within the community by which to say, you know what? I'm proud of who we are. This is our neighborhood. This is how we live. And so through resistance, they address the four-part process. Through resistance, they say, you know what? We need to stop the social racial discrimination. We need to confront it whenever we see it because it's not right. And then the other is access to education. We need in our neighborhoods the notion that we should have good schools, that through the public good we can improve our lot. And so we need access to quality education. And then the next is the dual wage system, economic marginality. We live in a poor neighborhood and because we're getting poor wages. So we need to organize into unions so that we can get decent wages. So they're organizing into unions by which to say we need a decent wage to survive so that we don't live in the margins of society. How else are we going to improve our lot? And then the third is political action by which to gain the right to vote. Because what happens is the laws are against you, and so the means of action is to gain access to the political process by which to gain the right to vote. Okay, and so it leads us to a question that a student has asked, and thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam, for participating in class. I'm so glad that you read the syllabus and you came in. It says, are you able to elaborate more on political disfranchisement? I don't understand how people become disfranchised if everyone has the right to vote. Well, that's the whole nature of the debate, Adam. One of the things that I'm addressing here is, in terms of resistance, is that the civil rights movement, that's what it was all about. The civil rights movement, it came in the 1960s. And so when we take a look at the civil rights movement, we take a look at Asian American communities, at African American communities, at Native American communities, and the Mexican American community known as the Chicano movement, all of these movements for change, along with the women's movements and the gay liberation movement, okay? All of these movements organized in the 1960s by which to address the racialization process, by which to address sexism, because sexism, just like racism, that's the disease of America, all right, and homophobia. So all of these movements for change attempted to address the four-part process. And yes, we do have today laws that address the disenfranchised process, but the whole notion has been to try to take away those rights to vote. And in this particular case, we're going to be taking a look at the immigrant community because the immigrant community is still disenfranchised, Adam. So when we take a look at that, we'll be addressing those issues, Adam, and thank you very much for that experience. Okay, so again, when we understand these particular experiences, this is the racialization process. Again, the concept, the means of action, and the social result. Those are very important. Now, how did I come to choose the beans and why did I choose the beans? Well, I was blessed in my life. Okay, I guess there's some technical difficulties that we're going through. Or is it just me that I'm hearing? Okay. Let me just, why did I choose the beans? Well, you see, I was blessed in my life to have worked with Cesar Chavez three different times. And in that experience, the man was such a awesome presence and very humbling presence. And one of the things that I liked about what he did is every time that he gave a talk, he started out with the concept of we are all human beings. but in his accent, it sounded like beans, not beans. Beans, not beans. And so, for me, as I was saying, well, how do I explain the racialization process? How do I explain racism? Because racism is a very difficult concept to kind of grasp. And so I use the beans. We are all human beings. I got that from Cesar Chavez. Human beings, but it's just because he couldn't pronounce, you could never tell the difference between beans and beans, beans and beans. So that's why I said we are all human beings. I don't know if you can focus in on that right there. If you see on my shirt, you'll see many times I'll be wearing shirts that will kind of share that. But can you guys focus in on my shirt here? If you can, let's see if right here, there it is, there you go. You see that? We are all human beings. And I got that from, again, my experiences with Cesar Chavez. And I want you to know that I still don't like canned green beans. But the whole idea behind the civil rights movements and the movements for change was to get the federal government and local governments out of the business of discrimination and segregation. That's what it is. And that's why resistance is so important. Resistance to that, because the resistance movements address the four-part process. They address political disfranchisement, educational deprivation, social racial discrimination, and economic marginality. That's what it's all about.